Spanish, their community. Like that's how I viewed it.
Interesting.
Just because like since we're such social animals and stuff, like we need
Yeah.
some, like our language kind of tells us, okay, what group you belong to. Like if you come to another, like if you're someone who speaks a different language, enters another place, obviously you're gonna be like outcasted, you know.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I viewed it, like mostly. And it reminded me a lot of the, I was trying to bring it up, but I don't remember how to pronounce the name of the people from last year. Yeah, it's like, because I was thinking, like, I was, like, they had a lot of, like, they weren't able to really talk about the past or the present, but they were able to, like, refer to something, even though they didn't have, like, a name for color. Like, they were still able to talk about something. They still had feelings.
Yeah.
And they still had, like, their unity. So I was like, okay, I can see, like, the three functions, like, working in that, you know.
I had a question about spontaneous concepts are things that you learn like just in your life.
Yeah.
And then you said scientific concepts are like things you almost like learn in school kind of.
Yeah.
So I was wondering when we were talking about Yvonne, right?
Yeah.
When she was, cause like we were saying how you learn through your interactions what is like appropriate or inappropriate or respectful or disrespectful, but like with other cultures, we were saying like Yvonne was teaching some of it. So do you think that could be something that's in spontaneous and scientific, depending on someone's circumstance?
Yeah. I mean, what I would like opinion on that is like, if she's teaching them, then
Because it seems like it's mostly spontaneous, but if people aren't like brought up with knowing that, then it could be scientific because they might have to be taught it if it's.
Like,
yeah. I mean.
like for example, like I kind of trying to like clarify, like are we saying like similes? And for example, like I never learned the phrase like sweating like a pig, like until I got to school. But like in this culture, it's like it's like the simile that kind of like idioms that kind of comes along, right?
Yeah.
Like you kind of like listen to it, and like your parents would use it, your family would, somebody would use it, and you'll just like acquire it. While like ESL students would take idioms like in school, you know, like they have to acquire it like through school, but still I feel like kind of getting onto that, I feel like school could be like more of like another like community or like a circle that people acquire from. So it's a fine line, but like learning like mitosis is the powerhouse of the cell is different from like learning idioms like the crisis. Mitochondria, there we go. I don't know biology. I'm sorry. You know what I meant.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember. Mitosis is something like that.
Anyway, moving on. So like I guess that's like a fine line whether we're gonna see schools as like a community, like
because they are. I mean, schools are a very like they are part of your everyday life.
I mean,
they're confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing.
I do think I'm actually leaning more towards the scientific, just because like you wouldn't learn these things if you were like, yeah, we should make this somebody question.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't learn these things like on your own, from your own discovery. I mean, obviously unless you went. But like the fact that someone's like helping you like kind of broaden your like understanding of like, oh, this is how other people work, this is how something else works. It's kind of abstract in its own way because it's just like, whoa, this is completely different than what I'm used to, you know?
I guess like one difference I'm thinking about though is like it sounds like scientific concepts are also concepts though that you have to walk people through, so there is sort of like that scaffolding or like processes of learning. But when you just like introduce facts to somebody for them to memorize or information, like that's not necessarily like it doesn't sound like it would be a scientific concept as much as like this is information I'm giving you.
Yeah.
But like it sounds like
But they would still have to like understand it, like because they wouldn't be like familiar with it, I guess.
Yeah, but I think what you're trying to say is like there's like a difference between like teaching someone algebra and teaching someone like that in this like in Japanese culture you like have to leave your plate a certain way when you're done. Does that make sense? Like you kind of have to like algebra, like you kind of have to like walk someone through it. Like it's like a concept that I feel like if you weren't in school or anything, you would go your entire life without really, you know, discovering algebra yourself. Yeah. That's what like when I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, I was like, this is like. Because this is like I was like trying because I kind of understand it mainly, but I think there's like some things that are just like
there's like a gray area.
Yeah, it's like that's why I like read another article about it and it just even left me with more questions.
I didn't look long enough into it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to look
and this is a Vygotsky.
Vygotsky?
Yeah, this is like a Vygotsky. Like,
That makes
thing
sense
too.
then, because
Yeah.
if he believes, like, if he encouraged scaffolding, he would probably say a scientific concept is a concept you have to scaffold, and you have to create models of the learning process for that person,
Yeah.
as opposed to, like, that's, I think, also, like, another thing in, like, pedagogy, there's a difference between dumping information on people, which some of it they will retain, and then, like, teaching somebody a process.
I wonder if it has as much to do with the teacher as much as it has to do with the student. Cause like, I don't know, cause you know, we don't seek to learn the things that we're taught in school, but like we walk into like, you know, things where we have to learn about different cultures or manners and stuff like that, which is, and so, you know, I don't know how much, maybe it's equal, maybe.
Also, schools, I guess, can be obviously an educational place where you're taught like specific concepts, but also they're a very social place, and you do learn like other kinds of, I don't know, kind of social learning things,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
manners.
What is more important in schools? Like, which one of these ways that you acquire knowledge, which one is more important for us? Does that make
Can you say that
sense?
again?
Like which,
Oh, God,
like,
really?
what were the two terms? What were the two terms? It was
Spontaneous concept
Sometimes-
versus scientific concept?
then scientific concept. Like in schools, like what is that more? Like, how am I trying to word this?
Which
We
one's
can
more
give you
important?
both.
Like what is more important of a role that schools give is,
Oh, that's really hard.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was about to say, oh god, that's complicated. I mean,
I mean, it's a socializing. Like when you're in middle school, like everyone's super awkward, but you like make
Yeah.
you learn how to make friends. You learn how to
You gotta
like
sit at a
see
table
what's
with
cool and what's not cool and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's equally important to like socialize. And
yeah, but I feel like that's not necessarily the point. That's just like the result of middle school. Like that's something that happens. Like
Yeah.
middle school wasn't made for us at our
Yeah.
awkward stages to be interacting with each other. It was like
Yeah.
it was just made for that more like that educational learning, getting that transition from elementary to high school.
That makes
Is that
sense.
friends? I like I have
Like
some
maybe,
friends in.
because like we only have these like, sorry, I
No, that's totally
interrupted.
fine, dude.
Like we only have these like social things that we go through in schools because schools are there. Like we wouldn't really interact with like hundreds of different people a day for school, so.
That's fair.
One of those cliques.
Because the point of school is to like the scientific concept. But if you didn't have school, then you wouldn't have a lot of spontaneous concepts, right?
Definitely.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess you would, just they would be, you would learn them eventually, you know.
Yeah.
In different places, yeah, maybe in like the workplace, but.
The church or whatever, where we had to interact with multiple people.
Yeah.
Because like, just think about like private school, like kids that are homeschooled, I mean. Like they obviously don't get a lot, I mean, was anyone here? I think someone here was, no, maybe there was.
I went to private school, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went to private school, but it was pretty public, because there was a bunch of kids there.
Yeah.
To St. Joe's.
Yeah, different schools.
So that, yeah, it's like, I mean, like they learn different ways of interacting, and when they go into high school, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, there's different kinds of rules, definitely. That's interesting, yeah.
I have another question that's kind of similar. So your question was which one's more important,
Yeah.
right? So my question is like which one is more prominent? Like which one happens more?
Mhm.
Because I mean, I guess they both do.
I mean,
Do you really?
I mean, like, I guess the spontaneous one happens more, because once you're done with school, it's like all spontaneous, it seems like. Like, you go into your job, and if you're like a chemist or something, like working in a laboratory, like, you don't learn chemistry, you just kind of like learn like ways to work with it on your own, you know, like, it's just like all work, I guess.
You don't like sit down, you're like, oh my god, that biology class was, you don't really remember the biology class, you kind of just remember what happened and who was in it.
Yeah.
and what-
Yeah.
I think teachers have the ability, they can't even teach you like as much material to teach you a lot of things about life and being a student and like learning. So I wonder if like things like resilience or like, I don't know, different like life skills are spontaneous or scientific. I don't know if that's too abstract, but just like things that you need to learn as a human, like that like you learn those things through a long process. You don't just learn and go like, oh well, that's what being like resilient or being tough is. You learn that like over a really long process that you have to like be taught by others through. I don't know. That's like
It's
very
weird.
abstract.
You got me thinking now, because like, as you, I think it was you were saying that like, no, you were saying that not the scientific one, the
Spontaneous.
spontaneous. I keep
Mhm.
wanting to say like mitosis because it's kind of like the same thing, but the spontaneous one, that's like kind of one that sticks with you the longest, like learning resilience and stuff. But like, you know, that's what I remember in school the
That's
most,
not
is
always
learning stuff like that.
spontaneous.
But is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
Like, but
you
like,
have to learn it through.
are the teachers like planning you? Is it scientific,
Well,
even
like-
though you're learning it spontaneously?
Spontaneous.
I mean, like,
I think we're
that's what I
getting
said,
really
we're getting
too
way
deep
into
into
it's
this.
like,
That's
this
the
is a really
material.
complicated thing. It was like a 200-page like article on like this whole thing. I was like, ugh.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, like if we're gonna get anything out of it, just what it said for sure is that scientific concepts are like what awaken the higher uses of the brain.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
that's what, you know.
Okay.
We definitely got really deep in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can move on.
It's just gonna be like,
We have
wow,
15
guys.
minutes.
Okay.
We could do probably just 10 more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Can I just like briefly go through mine?
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
through it.
So mine is about like model for teaching, parallels of SIOP, CL, I don't know, however you want to pronounce it. And then so each lessons is like consists of 4 stages. One is like I do it. So like so teachers model always like first to do it, and then next part is that we do it. So we do it together. So you guide them through. So like you walk them through with it hand in hand. And then the third process is that we do it together. So you're kind of going to be like one step away and kind of see them do it, and then when you need to be like intervene into it and help out, that's when you do it. And then wait, I do it, we do it together. So you
do it.
and then you do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah.
I was like going through it and I was like, wait. So first I do it first, and then we walk through together, and then you kind of do alone, and I'll help you with it, and you just fly on your own and like no intervention at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 4th section of it,
Yeah.
and which I thought would be which is like could be done in any other could be applied to any other subjects too. So yeah.
We actually, like, I feel like I talk about this a lot, but I work in the research writing studio in Haggard, and that's something that,
at the research?
yeah. We like grind that in, like that's the one like strategy that like our staff has to have is the I do, we do, you do. And so like that's the model for every interaction we're supposed to have with a student, is that we figure out what their problem is, we give them a strategy, we give them the rationale for why I would use that strategy.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna try that strategy together for a little bit on whatever you're working on, and now I want you to go do it by yourself. And it does apply to almost anything, as long as you can find a strategy to offer them.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like that's such a like ancient way of like teaching. Like that's how people like that's how like I feel like humans we naturally
Yeah.
learn. Like
That's what I was.
or, yeah,
But it gets
someone
rocky.
was-
Mhm.
Yeah.
It can be rough, it can be hard.
I found myself accidentally doing that, the tutoring center, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that model.
The most like random like subject you can think of, you can kind of like even apply it in certain
Yeah.
ways. And I was like, I guess this is like by default, when you're in doubt, you can kind of go into, you know, like when you don't know how to approach it, this would be like plan A for like if I don't have anything, like plan B would be this method to go through. Like I make you do it when we do it together, and you kind of like you students do it all together, and then now you fly solo.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but it's surprisingly really hard
It
sometimes.
is.
Like the other day I was working with a student whose English was not their first language. I don't know exactly what their first language was, but that's not necessarily important as much as like there was some like language or cultural barrier where we were really never able to even establish a strategy because we couldn't really like get on the same page about what we
Yeah.
felt like that person's needs are. So it can be really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Just with differences in like learning styles and
is
stuff.
there anything you would have done differently looking back, or? not
For that
really?
one, I just wouldn't have expected the whole world out of it. I think I was expecting a lot out of trying to like accomplish something with this writer, and maybe just should have expected a little bit less.
What, I talked
Oh,
about,
so that sounds terrible.
wait, what?
No. It's not off. Wait, is that what you said? It
Mhm.
sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, it was just like with this person, it was me like trying to like create
Mhm.
like a foundational change in how they saw writing
Yeah.
and like providing evidence in their
Like you
writing.
had huge like expectations.
Yeah, I kind of had this huge
Yeah.
expectation I could teach this person how to
Yeah.
talk and provide evidence in their writing, and I was really stuck on that, and we weren't able to have a breakthrough. But that just kind of happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's happened as a tutor, like you're like, I'm gonna go help this person immediately, and then it's like, okay, we can take this slower than I thought I could,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Since I like wrote kind of about scaffolding and stuff, I was looking at this and looking at it. Do you guys kind of think that the second part that we do it together is like the scaffolding, where you have like, you know, kind of the fill in the blank thing, where you're trying to like, you know, get people to see the concepts and how they go there, and then they do the higher, and then you guys do it together? Is that like the students scaffolding other students part? I feel
It
like I
could
kind of
be.
saw that, you know, or maybe it can be applied in that model at the same time.
Yeah.
Students helping each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's, sorry.
Yeah, and